Chiefs Kingdom, welcome into the latest episode, the latest edition of the AP Film Room YouTube show. We're on the Arrowhead Pride YouTube channel, bringing you all the Chiefs talk, all the football talk you can handle, the X's and O's. That's what we do on this show. You know, we've done it all year. It's kind of nice to be doing it in the playoffs. You know, we got more football to talk about. You know, we're not talking about the last game of the season yet, so that's nice. Got with me Nate and Caleb, our two great film analysts at the site. I'm Ron Kopp Jr., the lead analyst. And we're talking Chiefs Jaguars today. That was the game on Saturday. Chiefs won 27-20. We obviously got the AFC Championship in mind ahead of us, the Bengals game. But, you know, we're looking at the film from the Jaguars game for the most part. But I think we'll have a little bit of a vibe of, you know, kind of looking ahead as well as we talk through this all. Caleb, we'll start with you, man. How are you doing today? And, you know, how did you feel after you were at Arrowhead? How was Arrowhead for you?
Yeah, man, I thought it was an electric performance out there. I thought that the crowd was on fire, you know, and then the Mahomes injury, things start getting a little weird in the game. You know, we're sitting here and then all of a sudden you see Mahomes get up slow and you go, that's not good. You can see him limping around. He leaves the game. I think he's riding off a lot of emotion and a lot of adrenaline, but really, I mean, it was just one of those games that, you know, you could feel like the rest of the team decided to step up at one point. The coaching staff stepped up, and they were able to come away with the victory. But, like, the home field advantage was awesome this week. I think it really probably helped, you know, give a little bit of momentum to the Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree. I actually said it on our podcast, but I do feel like it could have been turned up a little more. I don't know. You know, maybe it was just me, but I feel like there's another level to Arrowhead we could have got to. Nick Bolton actually said it after the game, so he called you guys out, the fans. It wasn't just me. Nick Bolton said it, but I think we'll get that this Sunday. A little bit of a little more intensity with this game coming up. But Nate, you were watching it, you know, sadly, you know, far away from Arrowhead. But how did you feel about the game and just kind of what are your thoughts? You know, I guess talk about the injury if you want, the Mahomes injury. Just how are you feeling going into the AFC Championship?
I mean, it was jarring. Obviously, like it's a weird feeling when, when you suddenly like feel like everything's just lost, like within the circumstance of like one play. And what made it really frustrating was that the Chiefs' offensive line was not good in the first quarter at all. And I was talking to my brother who was watching the game with me. I was like, they got to start, like, they had to protect better. I was like, Pat is destroying pressure with all these plays, but like they can't sustain this. Then unfortunately, like it happens, like in the second drive, third or fourth play. And yeah, I mean, it looks extremely serious. It was a good, you know, kind of resilient effort by the team, especially Mahomes to do that, to finish that game off. But yeah, it is jarring. It's not a fun experience. Like it was hard to, I was at the point where I was like, just win the game. Obviously, like I could care less how they do it, but it's also like, man, like how could this even affect next year? Like there's just so many things that go through your head in that moment. But I was so glad the Chiefs pulled it out, and now we have a week to get healthy and kind of prepare and compensate for it.
Yeah, man, you're right. So many things go through your head. You know, it doesn't even like feel like a playoff game anymore. It feels so weird once he went out, but he's okay. He'll be okay. He's played on a pretty bad sprained ankle before. We just got to hope that Cam Irving doesn't come back to play left tackle for the Chiefs in the next few games that they have left, because there are a few games left, I believe. But we're talking about the Jags game just specifically, and that's where I'll throw it to you, Caleb. Let's talk through some offense. We talked about Mahomes being out. Well, people had to step up around him, and I think you're going to show us how, you know, maybe it was the offensive lineman in front of him and maybe the running game just in general had to step up a little bit and got the job done. Why don't you take it away?
Yeah, for sure, man. And really, you know, even before Mahomes got hurt, you could kind of tell maybe the Chiefs were going to throw some looks that they'd never seen before, that they were going to come out and just try to kind of, you know, bust the Jaguars up in the running game a little bit. Really, if you take a look at the course of the run blocking throughout the game, it was solid. Pacheco was the big contributor. He had his, you know, he had 95 yards. He's the guy with a big run. We open up with this play right here. And kind of what I like about this one when we're going through and looking at it, you could see Pacheco in the backfield, Mahomes, and you see it's an option play. You know, that's so funny. They open up the game with this. I'll come back to it later, but it's a special kind of option. It's not just your standard, speed option look. We've seen Andy run with Alex Smith. It's a staple of Andy Reid sometimes. He's taken it. It's got a lot of West Coast principles to it. But take a look at Orlando Brown over there and take a look at Noah Gray. And you got Travis Kelce. They're out here in this 12 personnel with the double tight on the left. Now you got 95 out here. He's wide out at the tight end, or he's at the defensive end. But you see Noah Gray is going to pin down on this, and Orlando Brown is pulling around. He's getting around this, and he's going to pull up. So this is like a pin and pull. It's illegal hands to the face, didn't get called. But what makes it special is they go back to the option. Brown, you see he's not looking to go after Travon Walker. He's got his eyes set up field. And Mahomes just waits until they suck in 44. They pitch it off. Kelce's getting some great blocks downfield, and you got one-on-one with Andre Cisco, number 5, headed that way, and lowers the shoulder, getting a little payback for his buddy Juju there. After that game, you kind of thought that, the Chiefs aren't the kind of team they're going to come out and retaliate or do anything dirty, but they're going to challenge you, and, they're not going to hit you when you're not looking at them. They're going to come downhill, and they're going to smack you kind of like Pacheco does here on the sideline, a real tone setter out of the gate. And then you come back with this one. This was a little later in the game. This is after the ankle injury. Same concept of the play, but it's Kadarius Toney out here now, and they have to change it up. Mahomes' ankle's busted, but they still like their matchup on the outside with Toney. So what they do is they have just Kelce out there now, so it's not going to be really like a pin and pull option at this point. But Kelce vacates. Brown is going to step out, and he is just going to club 44 just long enough there to be able to help Mahomes make the pitch. Kelce gets 2 guys. And there goes Toney knocking a guy down, and we go back and take a look. And you can see, even with the bad ankle, the defense still has to respect Mahomes. The offensive line's kind of all going the different way. It's stealing the eyes of the backers. But you can see Toney get the ball. He's got the space. Kelce gets 1 man. Now he comes off a 2 to go get the most dangerous guy headed towards him. But it almost sets it up to where 2 is like not in a real athletic position to make a play. And he ends up getting bowled over by Toney, who works his way down and, goes through there to make the play. We come out here now. This was the first play post-Mahomes injury, and, you'll see him kind of limping on this play like he does there. But the Chiefs came out, and I think it kind of flipped a switch in the team, because when we come here into this angle, this end zone angle, you'll see, they got Kelce out there, Wiley, Trey Smith, Creed. That's their running side. They run the ball to the right pretty well. Jaguars are kind of expecting run. They got guys muddled around the line of scrimmage a little bit, but it doesn't matter because you look at Trey Smith here. He's going to drive the 3 technique. You got Kelce locked on the backside, and you got Wiley working his way up. Trey Smith just kicks this guy's ass out of the picture. It's got a giant hole up here for Pacheco to work with. Creed is working, and, he gets tackled, but it's like that's 5 or 6 harder in yards. You keep doing that long enough, it's going to help. You're going to eventually break one. This is from the Chad Henne drive. And they run the little offset zone, which on the offset zone, the whole point is to kind of, get them thinking one way, watching the running back, but the offensive line's doing another thing. And what's really interesting about this one, as we'll see here, you see on the left side of the screen here, they motion over Noah Gray. So Walker's like, I'm going to kind of drop back here. But they're still running zone to the left, regardless of the footwork that Pacheco's taking. If you're a linebacker or an edge and you see the linebacker and you see the running back kind of start to take his footwork like this, you think maybe it's going to be a run to the right. They're stealing his eyes, but take a look at the Chiefs' offensive line. They're all angled on their zone angle to the left. This is good awareness by Orlando Brown, because he comes down, and now all of a sudden him and Joe Thuney are just crushing this guy down the field. Justin Watson is crushing his guy as well. And we see this, and, Trey and Creed, they get caught up in there. It's a nice play by the Jaguars to stone him at the line of scrimmage, but you see Pacheco makes his cut, and he gets out just in time, but he's got this massive void over here in front of him, and he's going to go and almost scores. He gets this giant chunk play that the Chiefs just desperately needed at this point in the game. They had to have points. Nate, I know you're going to touch on that later, but really they wouldn't have been able to do it without this kind of play. And, when they're just pounding the rock like that, eventually one is going to break. Pacheco has all the elite speed in the world that a running back, can want. He's got these elite physical tools, and you've seen through the course of a season, his development and vision have gotten better to where he breaks this one out for a big gain and almost scores a touchdown. that explosive aspect to the run game is something they haven't had in quite a while. It might be something we see. And then late in the game, they go back to the old man, Jerick McKinnon. But I really like this look because even with Mahomes' ankle injury, he's still finding a way to impact the play. You see, he looks like they're throwing an RPO, and you see the bunch out here. Sky Moore motions over. You got both the tight ends out here, and they see Mahomes just give that little flick of the wrist like that. Well, the Chiefs are getting some great movement on the line of scrimmage. I'll just run it back real quick. You see the ball's going to be snapped at the 11-yard line, and by the time McKinnon gets to the line of scrimmage, he's got 2 guys 5 yards downfield. Wiley's winning his block. Let's go to the end zone and take a look at it, because that is some serious push up the middle now. That was some serious push, and you can see it well how the defense reacts to just Mahomes with the little – he just gives that little flick of the wrist and it gets him. But really, great job by Creed. You see him in there in the middle. He is just crushing the nose tackle. It's a head-up guy. This is a run-stuff defense. You look across the board for them. They got 8 guys, in the box. They're ready to stop the run here. And you just see Trey and Creed getting off. You see Wiley seals his guy. Great cutback by McKinnon. And it's a strong finish to the play. They got like 7 or 8 yards on this one. They were just killing the clock. It's the 4-minute drill. You're up 10 points. Just try to run it down to about a minute or so, about a minute on the clock. And then, you're going to close the game out. Really awesome job. They finished with about 144 yards rushing. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they finished the season 12th overall in the NFL in run defense. You think, well, that plays a factor in their division. Obviously, with Derrick Henry, some of the running offenses they got this guy, Dameon Pierce, starting to come on. They've had to deal with Jonathan Taylor, even though he had a down season. You think about the Cincinnati Bengals, though. They were 7th this year in run defense. And you think about the division that they were in. They've had to stop guys like Chubb and Hunt. They've had to stop the Ravens' rushing attack, Najee Harris, and all these things. But the thing that separates the Chiefs from all those teams is, they have Patrick Mahomes. How is the injury going to affect that? I don't know. Maybe the Bengals will be ready for the ready for the run a little bit more. It certainly adds an interesting aspect to where maybe instead of just, wanting to hammer away with the run, it seems like the easy thing to do, but it's not as easy as it sounds with the Mahomes injury, because you really don't know which way those Bengals are going to come out. They don't give many tendencies in what they do. So it'll be an interesting matchup this game for sure.
Yeah, I was about to ask you how you felt, after watching that going into the Bengals game. So you answered that for me, because, yeah, you're right. I mean, the Jaguars defense have been playing well down the stretch, and it seemed like the Chiefs offense, especially their offensive line, really, really handled that aspect of the game. So it was good to see the run game kind of have some efficiency. Pacheco have a good game in the playoffs. Nate, you're talking offense too, but you're talking a little bit unique version of the Chiefs offense this week. Something that we don't get to see much, do we?
Yeah, for this week for Arrowhead Pride, I broke down the full Chad Henne drive. It's out on the site right now. I also have a thread on my Twitter kind of recapping and breaking out every single play, because it was an awesome drive by everyone involved. Quarterback, offensive line, weapons, play calling. I thought particularly Andy Reid took the reins a little bit of the offense and just helped Chad Henne out. And I think it's fair to say if they don't have that drive, the Chiefs might not be here right now, because that kind of calmed them down, got them back in a positive game script, and then they could do a bunch of things after that. So I'm just going to recap kind of 3 cool passing plays that I thought were noticeable on the play. That big run was another great play, but 3 passing plays. These are just kind of Andy Reid giving some answers for Chad Henne. I believe this was the sprint out, I believe, on 3rd and 3. Let me just make sure real quick. Yes, okay. They had a couple different bunch formations, so I need to remember if it is. So it's a sprint out here. The Jaguars, weird game plan for them. I don't know if they were kind of jarred by Chad Henne and didn't know what to do, but they basically played single high the entire game, and it was either cover 3 or cover 1. And the Chiefs were using jet motion a lot to get that tell immediately, and the Jaguars did absolutely nothing to hide that at all. There's no jet motion here, but this is a 3-by-1. On 3rd down, their main call was man coverage. This is just a very easy, simple play. Kelsey's kind of going to chip inside and also hold the safety right inside when he kind of releases out. They're just going to have a little pick play. right to Tony in the flat. Nothing, insane. Pretty simple. Chiefs fans will probably remember this is how they closed the game against the Browns, although it wasn't in a bunch formation with Tyreek Hill. And the Jaguars, they didn't banjo that very well. Cornerback was late to recover the flat. I believe that was the first third down of the drive. Again, it's nothing, revolutionary, but it was Reed just giving Henne an easy answer. It was a play Chad Henne obviously loves, going back to that 4th-and-1 play. And it's not a drive starter. They had a couple first downs beforehand, but it was the first third down, which was big. The second one here, another third down, and the Chiefs are going to get back into kind of a split backfield. So they have Kadarius Toney in the backfield with Jet McKinnon. The Jaguars show double A-gap pressure. So by going split back, they're going to be man-to-man. They're going to blitz. They're showing blitz, and they're going to blitz. They're going to have McKinnon run out as a number 2. And for Henne, he's reading this weak side safety. So this weak side safety comes down. That's man-to-man. That's a man call. Now Henne knows, okay, I am in man coverage. He's going to work right to Travis Kelce, his hot read on the backside. I do want to talk the protection real quick. Good route by Kelce, boxing his guy out. So from what I understand about double A gap pressures, and I'm sure there's like many ways to handle it. One way a lot of teams will handle it, though, is a full slide. So they're going to slide Wiley, Smith, Humphrey, Tooney, Orlando Brown straight to the right here. I don't know if they're doing it towards like the Mike or the Will. Regardless, they're sliding all the way to the right, away from like their passing strength, which is kind of the correct way to handle this. That way, you're not wasting your running back in protection trying to handle these two guys, because if these two linebackers cross, that can cause some confusion between the center and the running back. So for the Chiefs, I don't know if Henne calls this or whatever. Creed Humphrey, doesn't matter. They're just like, we are going to take this away. What that means, though, is that you are leaving this defensive end backside unblocked. That's Chad Henne's responsibility, essentially. He is hot on this read. So right at the snap, you're going to see the Chiefs slide, perfectly protected, no issues at all. Ardiki's going to come free. He has the widest path to the quarterback. Henne understands that. He's responsible. Quick route to the sticks to Travis Kelce. Good ball right outside the frame. That way the safety can't come inside and deflect it. First down. And the Chiefs get it rough into the passer play. But, and I don't know, again, if it's, Henne or Reed who's calling the protection. It doesn't matter. This is just like a kind of an easy play. The Chiefs use motion to give Henne the real call and like, what are they running? By having that safety kind of walk down, that proves that it's man coverage. With the double A gap pressure, they're going to send the protection all that way. So Henne's he knows the answers on this play. Using the motion, using the split back, Andy Reid's helping Chad Henne get answers. And when he gets the answers, Henne executed the offense well. Last play here is the touchdown play. Let me pull that up.
Yeah, but I like you. We were kind of talking in the group chat earlier. You were kind of saying, it's pretty obvious that Andy, kind of has and he probably, obviously him and Henne work on it together, but he has a little Rolodex of stuff he wants to go to when Henne gets in the game. And that's why you saw that similar Tyreek Hill play. But
yeah, just to touch on that, like if you guys I would recommend, like if you want like a football channel to watch, subscribe to the QB School on YouTube. Yes. It's JT O'Sullivan. It is by far the best offensive channel ever. Like he breaks down a ton of quarterbacks. He gives so much insight into like how the NFL like game plans and everything. And one video I watched of him was talking about kind of how like teams prepare for backups. And he was a backup quarterback in the NFL. And basically like each play caller will have like a designated spot in their play sheet with like maybe 6 to 8 passing concepts that their backup quarterback likes, just to get him a rhythm within the game. And obviously like this drive was kind of imperative. Like these are the things Henne likes. He likes to sprint out. He likes to operate from empty. We saw a bunch of empty dropbacks. We're going to use motion to get him some identifiers if it's man or zone, which is kind of leads into this play. Chiefs are an empty. They're going to have both tight ends kind of in a wing. So for a defense, it could be a little bit confusing because this could still potentially be a run if McKinnon kind of motions in here and they insert him right in. So this could still potentially be a run, but they're going to have McKinnon as like this wide kind of receiver in a stack. And I keep saying the Chargers. The Jaguars walk their Mike linebacker over him, which is another kind of just man coverage call. Chad Henne knows that's man coverage because the Mike is going to be over this running back. They're going to motion it back. The Mike travels with McKinnon. So man coverage. If a guy travels, it's man to man, at least with how the Jaguars are playing. They're going to just run a little pick concept for Kelce in the flat. I think the reason why this works, and I'm not quite sure, 37 and 48 kind of have a hard time communicating who's like on Kelsey, who's potentially like going to be this whole player in their like cover one. And I think part of it is because the alignment as a wing. I don't know if they have some issues like who's going to be here to like fit the run or whatever. Regardless, they don't communicate that well. And Kelsey just gets easy access for a touchdown. Good pick. If another good follow on Twitter, the Honest NFL. He used to work for Andy Reid, so he kind of helps. He has really good insights on like the Andy Reid offense and how he game plans. He had this play on his Twitter. I guess it's called pickle is the concept, but it's both a man and a zone beater. This front side play to Kelsey was the man beater, and like Henne throws this, executes the play fine. The motion kind of helps identify this. But if you watch the play, Juju is open on the backside on a drag. And Noah Gray actually is open too, or not, doesn't really get open, but if he had like held, he would have been open in the back of the end zone. That like route concept up top was a zone beater. So maybe if they dropped into like cover 2 or quarters or something, Juju was going to be open kind of right in this spot, right around the E and the F for the end zone. So overall, this was a great play. It was a drive that I thought Andy Reid kind of, it was one drive, so it wasn't a huge sample, but it was a reminder that like, Andy Reid is also a part of this team. And I know that sounds weird, but like we kind of go with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. It's very much Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes too. They're both very responsible for this. And the one time the Chiefs needed a drive without Patrick Mahomes, they needed Andy Reid to be at his best. And that entire drive, I would only say there was like one play call that like kind of puzzled me. But besides that, he gave Henne easy answers. He got him into a rhythm extremely quickly. They ran the ball. They deserve credit for their execution too, the offense. It's not just Andy Reid. But overall, the play calling was great. Everything worked. And like it can't be understated. There's maybe only a few coaches in the NFL that could have dialed that drive up from the 2-yard line with a bunch of passes and scored. Like it's just not that common. So it's a testament to Andy Reid. He's an amazing coach. And I think that one drive serves as a reminder of how he's a great coach.
You know, that's so true. And it's a good point on just, just the overall, the fact that Henne even does that. Man, I was starting to doubt Henne a little bit, even just like, like last year in training camp, like, man, we should, at some point we might need to get a better backup quarterback. He was not looking good in the preseason. I don't know if anyone remembers that. I was starting to get a little sketch on Henne, and man, this is why they kept him around, man. It is special. This is his second playoff game he's helped win. And this is honestly probably more impressive than the first one, I would say. He almost blew the first one. He threw a terrible interception, and this was very, very impressive of him. So shout out Chad Henne. I'm glad we highlighted him on the show. We all know how good Patrick is. He had some really cool, really nice plays on that opening drive that we could show here. But, the execution, is a big part of that. And shout out Chad Henne. But I'm going to talk defense for the rest of the show. I'll just, before I start the clips and stuff, it wasn't the most perfect defensive performance, right? The defense absolutely allowed some stuff, and allowed them to be closer in the game, the offense. And then we'd kind of like, obviously the Jaguars fumble at the 5-yard line in the fourth quarter. I mean, if they score on that drive, it's a 3-point game, and it's a very, it's a very different game than what it ended up being. But at the same time, I liked Spags' strategy against the Trevor Lawrence, against a young quarterback who's experienced his first road playoff game. I do like that he tried to heat him up, and that started on the first drive. He only blitzed 10 times, I should say. So it's not like this crazy, he wasn't blitzing in a crazy amount of time, but 10 times is a good amount. And I'll just tell you real quick, Trevor Lawrence passed for 5 for 10 on those 10 dropbacks, which he was blitzed. 5 for 10, 46 yards. He had the interception, I'll show in a second, and then also a dropped pick on this play. So I just kind of spoiled the play a little bit, but no, I like that Spags went right ahead and wanted to heat up Lawrence right away. And this is what he did on the first third down of the game. So he brings actually Willie Gay here, which the cursor's on. It has the blitz path too, but also L'Jarius Sneed over here. He is going to be coming, he's kind of disguised. Maybe, hey, I'm going to pick up this guy in coverage, or I'm just maybe a low zone defender over, with a cover 2 over the top. They're trying to disguise it a little bit, but Sneed's coming off the edge here. And so you're going to have Gay and Sneed both coming off the edge, both trying to take away a quick throw to the flat that Lawrence will try to probably make, right? When he sees a blitz, he has to get rid of it quickly. He's a smart quarterback. well, if I send guys from both edges, it's not going to be as easy for Lawrence to get rid of it quickly and obviously, get rid of that pass to the hot route. So I showed Dana's dropping back in coverage, but just the main thing here real quick is that Gay does disrupt that path, right? He wants to go to Evan Ingram right here is the only short route he has to beat a blitz. There's no other routes closer to the line of scrimmage that he can get to real quick and beat the blitz. So it works out perfectly that Gay is on that side, gets in his throwing window. Lawrence is not able to make that throw. He actually smartly pumps it. Some quarterbacks would just throw it and it would just be an incomplete pass. So shout out to Lawrence for at least, keeping the play alive and kind of getting Gay up in the air. But this is what it does. Gay taking away that throw, even when Lawrence does pump fake, by the time he's able to reset back up, obviously Ingram's running away from him anyway. If Ingram was smart, he'd probably sit down at some point. But Dana's back here now. It gives Dana time to recover and turn into a coverage defender. And yeah, if Ingram does sit down, Dana's right there to take him away. And so Lawrence has to do something else, and he's got the pressure coming on. He's a young quarterback. He thinks he can fit a tight window in or tight throw into a tight window. Well, this is an interception if Nick Bolton has hands, man. This is right to him. It goes right into his chest. Oh, my gosh, drives you crazy. This could have been a huge turnover right off the bat, but I think it starts by Spags being aggressive with the blitzing, and not just sending guys, right? Obviously dropping a defensive lineman. His best, probably, I would say the best guy to drop back into coverage would be Dana. And that's what makes him such an X factor. You've talked about it, Caleb, before, but he's an inside rusher. He's a defensive end, and he can drop back into coverage with decent athleticism. I mean, there's so much he can do for the Chiefs. So shout out Dana on this play as well.
I have one thing. I was watching that route concept. I just thought of this. Like the Chiefs and most teams, like when they send like pressure off the edge like that, they're probably expecting Frank to drop. Would be my guess with how they kind of like slide this protection here. Like Lawrence reads it fine with Willie Gay, and they actually pick up Snead's blitz fine. But I think the reason why this doesn't really work is that actually Dana's like right in the hole. Ingram's Lawrence's hot read, and Ingram doesn't necessarily like recognize Dana coming. I don't know like the percentages and stuff of that, but I do wonder like Doug gives such like easy answers for Lawrence, and I wonder if that's like a tendency that was more noticeable. And it was a good job by the Chiefs kind of like hiding their tendency, taking away something from the Jags.
Well, and that's a great point, and I'm glad you kind of made me trigger the fact that I wanted to point this out too. But if you see, Frank actually crashes down here, and you actually end up wasting a blocker here, right? Because 69 and 72 are both blocking the same guy. There's absolutely, I think there's absolutely something to maybe Lawrence in his head thinking, okay, well, if maybe we have this covered because if Frank drops back, Gay's going to get picked up and all that. So. Yeah, the design here actually wastes a blocker for the Jags. 72 has no one to block as Frank crashes in on him, and obviously Dana's one to drop. So good play design overall. Gets an incompletion, gets a 3-and-out right off the bat. Another blitz here. This was later in the game, and these are two very successful blitzes. This one turns into the interception. And this is actually more on how much Chris Jones, drags attention from the offensive line, right? Chris Jones lined up here. He's actually more in like a head up, two, over the guard. Oh, Jesus. Probably need to do that, huh? Thank you, Nate. I was about to go through a whole explanation without anyone being able to see anything. That wouldn't have not been fun. So here we go. We're later in the game here. This is actually the Jalen Watson interception. You see Chris Jones right here, right over the right guard. So he's got the right guard's attention. And he crashes in. And so that right guard, all he cares about is Chris Jones. And so much so that he doesn't give a single crap about Justin Reed, who didn't even really hide it that well, honestly. He's creeping up to the line of scrimmage right at the snap. I mean, you'd think, and this is where, the Jaguars offensive line just may not be that good to communicate, but that's the thing. It's on Spags, man. He overloads the right side. You actually see Brian Cook come in at the last second to the right here. And so you actually have the right tackle dealing with two blitzers as well. So it's just tough. You don't have a lot of answers if you're the offensive line. Like, shoot, do I want to leave Chris Jones one-on-one with the center? Do I want to leave my right tackle, with another guy out, because no matter what, one of these blitzers is going to come free, whether it's Cook or Reed. You would just think you'd work inside out and force Cook to be the one to come free. So it is a little bit of miscommunication on the Jaguars offensive line, but it's just another example of Spags, his creativity in blitzing, kind of how he aligns people. It makes for these kind of chaotic where they kind of have brain farts or kind of just, miss assignments. And it leads to an interception right here, right? Justin Reed gets good pressure on Lawrence, and Lawrence did not take a sack when he was blitzed this week, but again, he threw 2 interceptable passes. Only one of them was intercepted. And it's just Spags, Spags dialing it up. Now, you live by the blitz and you die by the blitz, fellas. And I think we all understand that. And we saw it on the touchdown to Christian Kirk in this game. And this is just a great counter by Doug Peterson to the Chiefs blitzing, right? I mean, he has Christian Kirk aligned in the backfield here as the running back. You can get a better look at it from the end zone angle. He's at running back, right? And so the Chiefs call a blitz that's going to bring Gay on a blitz. And basically, which since in usual coverage here, in this man-to-man look, Gay would have the running back, obviously, right? Gay would pick up the running back out of the flat. Well, you can see him right here. He's telling Karlaftis, hey, look, you have the guy because I'm going to go. And so, I don't know. This is kind of one of those things where, maybe that was so last second. Maybe Karlaftis didn't even realize he was supposed to get him until Gay said that. And maybe that just really – because I feel like Karlaftis maybe shouldn't come off this hard off the line of scrimmage. You can kind of see it better from this angle. But it kind of just – he just loses right away because Kirk has the forward momentum and Karlaftis takes 3 steps forward. And, you want to sell the rush. So that's probably what he's trained to do, right? And against a running back, maybe it's not as disadvantageous. But you have a slot receiver as the guy that's going to be beating you down that angle. You really can't have any wasted steps. So, maybe Karlaftis could have helped himself here by just not even trying to sell the rush and just kind of flattening out immediately to kind of give him a better angle to pick up Kirk. But this is just a good play by Doug Peterson, man. Spags, yes, you can blame Spags for getting aggressive down here, but if that was a regular running back, Karlaftis may pick it up a little better, and he's not that far off from on coverage here, right? I mean, if the ball's a little, further in, it's knocked away. So it's just a great play design and a great throw by Trevor Lawrence. But all that to say, with these blitzes, you live or die by the blitz. It worked against Trevor Lawrence, right? Trevor Lawrence, the second-year quarterback, is his first road playoff game, all that. I just don't know. And Spags, I think, knows this by now, but you're not going to be able to just heat up Burrow and expect the same results, right? It's going to have to come in a different way. So this is where I'll throw it to you. Caleb, I'll start with you, man. You think about the Chiefs defense, you think about how they played in this game. Does it give you any more confidence going into the game against Burrow, or is it kind of just, hey, this is what happened this game and has nothing really to do with what's going to happen next week?
Well, I like that they were able to step up in big moments. They were able to step up after the Mahomes injury. They made some mistakes. They gave up some yards on the run this week. They're going to have to get that cleaned up because the Bengals did run the ball pretty well against Buffalo. But overall, you do like to see Spags starting to mix it up and change tendencies. You haven't seen Mike Dana drop back into coverage a lot this year. Usually it's been, a true end or a true, nose guy. He's kind of that hybrid. You're starting to mix it up a little bit now. You're going to have to do things like that to knock the Bengals offense off. But really, when you start to show those young defensive backs making plays like Watson did there, that's why they drafted, 4 rookie DBs. They drafted those guys to be able to come out here and compete in their defense and eventually contribute for championships. They're not just bringing in bodies on a roster. They want to bring in guys who they think can compete. And in my head, I just keep going back to that last play in the regular season against Cincinnati when Mike Dana is a step away from sacking Joe Burrow to set up like what would have been 4th and long to get the ball back, and where Watson was a step away from getting the ball out of T. Higgins' hands, and then you have a chance to maybe give the ball back to Mahomes with 90 seconds to go. Those are just things that, I've been thinking about this week when I'm trying to think about how it's going to go. But like you said before the show started, it's going to be a long week. There's a lot of stuff that could occur between now and then. Both coaching staffs are going to be in their bags. So it should be a good game all around. If the defense can step up and play well and force some turnovers, that's going to drastically impact the out impact of this game. Right. Cincinnati, they don't make a lot of mistakes on offense.
Man, they do not. And so that's why I ask you the same thing, Nate. Just you look at this Chiefs-Jaguars game, you look at the defensive performance. I mean, does it give you any sort of extra, comfort or maybe even pessimism heading into next week?
Yeah, well, just a couple things kind of on the Jaguars in general. One of the things, first, I think on that Kirk play, I would be interested to know if the Chiefs should check out of that. I wonder,
right.
I don't know their rules. I would think though, they should check Willie Gay onto that, but I don't know their rules, so I'm just speculating on that.
And I'll say real quick, I had
Yeah.
a similar thought as that too. And maybe that's not something like it's coach, but if you're like a veteran linebacker, maybe you just tell
Right.
yourself, look, I can't have Karloff. Yeah. So I think it's a good
Right.
point.
Which the reason why I brought that up is if you watch the Bills-Bengals game last week, they didn't like run. They had Jamar Chase motion into the backfield a lot more than I had noticed them. And I'm interested to see if that was something in the Ravens game too, because the Chiefs are going to need to have very specific checks for that. They can't afford to have a defensive end or a linebacker covering Jamar Chase. That's just not a thing you can handle. Second thing, I hate blitzing discourse so much. This is one of my like least like the thing that will like irk me the most is like when like blitzes work like 9 times out of 10, like nobody says anything about it. Like the one time like you get in a bad call, it's just like, oh my god, like what are you doing? Like I remember writing a whole article after the Bills game about that, and like people got after me for that, and I couldn't get it. But anyways, yeah. So with the Bengals, the Chiefs last time could not pressure Joe Burrow in any capacity at all. The 4-man rush did not work at all. I came on and complained about it, but the blitz also did not work at all. The Chiefs are going to have to make Joe Burrow see something pre-snap and adjust post-snap. So, like that Jalen Watson interception, it's the Chiefs are originally showing cover 2, but then they walk Justin Reed down. So Trevor Lawrence is thinking he has cover 1, but then they rotate McDuffie back to the deep half, and it's cover 2 again. There's a reason why Jalen Watson had his butt turned to the sideline. He was in his zone turn. That way, like when Lawrence throws it up on the sideline, he's thinking, it's man, maybe I can get a PI or something. No, it's zone. Do that against Joe Burrow. Like the thing about the Bills versus like the Ravens, the reason why there was such a difference is that as much as I respect the Bills defense, they just play their stuff. They'll show you what they're doing pre-snap, and they are going to play it. The Ravens did the opposite. They showed something pre-snap and then changed it post-snap. Joe Burrow gets rid of the ball incredibly quickly. Like you just cannot get home with cover 0 because he knows where it's coming and he knows how to get the ball to his ridiculous playmakers.
Yeah.
You have to present something pre-snap, change it post-snap. They did not do a good enough job of this last time they played. They did a really good job of that on Saturday. I'm really hoping it carries over to this game.
Man, that's such a good point about just there's only so many things you can do against a great quarterback, like and I hate to say it, Burrow is starting to look a lot like Tom Brady and how he quickly processes and quickly gets rid of the ball and doesn't really hang around in the pocket ever. It's a little scary, but the one thing that you could do against Brady and that you can do against Burrow is just make him think after the snap, make him just okay, now they changed this and now I got to do this. Don't make it easy on him. Even if there's some advantageous, looks when you do that, and maybe you're putting guys in maybe positions that you don't necessarily feel great about. It's just, let's just be more, unpredictable. Spags is pretty unpredictable, but I do think he doesn't disguise pre-snap as much as other defensive coordinators do. So I think that's a great point, Nate. And just great things about this game coming up, man. I told you guys before the show, and Caleb, you just said it, but man, it feels like it's so long until this game, man. We have such a long time till this game starts, but we're pumped up for it. We're excited. Hope you guys are on watching at home. Keep following us, all of our stuff. We got plenty more coming. These guys have great film reviews, probably I think out by now on the site or coming out soon. I'll have something up on the defense tomorrow, and we'll get Bengals preview going the rest of this week, and we'll get it going AFC Championship style. So for Ron, for Nate, for Caleb, we're out of here on the AP Film Room podcast. Go Chiefs, and we'll be talking to you about Super Bowl 56 next time we talk. All right.